What's up, guys? Welcome back to another class preview. This time we're going to be going over the Havoc Demon Hunter and kind of seeing how well they're doing in the Legion Alpha. Since there are no changes since Warlords, kind of seeing how well the spec is doing and kind of seeing if it's going to be a good spec, good DPS for PvP and PvE. But we're going to go over the spellbook, then hit up the talent, then look at these awesome Warblade artifact weapons. So let's get into it. Starting off in the spellbook, the first spell we do have is Blade Dance. Now this does cost 15 Fury. It's going to be working just like a Rage Bar, 1 through 100, with a few modifiers through the amount of Fury we can actually have. So works just like a Rage Bar, but it does have a low cost of 15. It does have some changes in it just because of some artifact traits which reduce it. I believe the total cost at the start is going to be 35 Fury, but it is a cast with a 9.25 second cooldown. Strikes all enemies within 83 for 83,000 physical damage, and increases your dodge chance by 100% for 1 second. So this basically means while you're casting this spell, you will have 100% dodge. So basically right when you get out of it, the buff kind of wears off. So it's just during that animation of you bouncing around. It's actually a really cool ability. I do like some of the animations. They are somewhat repetitive, in my opinion. Might get a little bit boring after a while, but still pretty cool. Next up, we do have Blur. It's a 1 minute cooldown. This is going to be our main defensive ability, but it's kind of a very overpowered defensive ability in my opinion, just since it has a low cooldown, plus it does a lot extra, such as increase your dodge chance by 50% and reduces all damage you take by 35% for 10 seconds. So this is kind of a really overpowered defensive cooldown since you can use it quite a bit. It kind of also affects your Fell Rush, which we'll explain later, through some artifact weapon passives. Next up we do have Chaos Nova. It's a 1 minute cooldown. Unleash an eruption of fell energy, stunning all enemies for 5 seconds and dealing 59,000 chaos damage. Now most of our damage is going to be physical damage or chaos damage, which is going to work in through our mastery, but we'll go over that a little bit later. Next up we have Chaos Strike. Does cost 40 Fury. Slice your target for 111,000 chaos damage. Critical strikes do not consume Fury. So obviously you'd like crit as a stat because it doesn't take away your Fury. Right now it is about a 50% chance to not take away any of your Fury. Obviously they will fix this, but it's kind of weird right now just because it still takes your Fury when you crit. But this is also going to be our main Fury dump. So it kind of, you see the animation a lot. It's basic animation, nice little twist, but it does strike with both weapons, which makes it a little bit cooler. Next up, we do have Consume Magic. It's going to be our basic interrupt, but there's a twist at the end. It's a 20-second cooldown. Interrupts the enemy spellcasting, locks them out of that school for 3 seconds, but it also generates 50 Fury on a successful interrupt, making this really nice, especially you're going to want to be in the interrupt kind of rotation, I'd say, and kind of seeing what how much Fury you can actually gain off of this, since there's 50 Fury generation. That's quite a bit. You can get a free Chaos Strike and probably most of a Blade Dance just from Interrupt. And it's just a 20-second cooldown, which is a little bit longer, but it does do quite a bit more for you. Next up, we do have Darkness. Now this is a 3-minute cooldown. Summons darkness around you in an 8-yard radius, cloaking friendly targets and reducing the chance they are hit by spells and melee attacks by 30%. This does last for 8 seconds. Kind of a neat defensive cooldown for your raid. Somewhat like a barrier, but this is more along the lines of them being hit. So I would say this is very useful to help out your tanks and stuff like that, so they don't get hit as often, or if they're taking a bunch of damage through some phase or a frenzy, whatever, you can get give them a little bit of damage mitigation. So it looks like so. They've been changing the animation of this quite a bit, but still pretty nice. Little cooldown for our tanks. Also really good in PvP. So next up, we do have Demon's Bite. Now this is going to be our kind of main attack. It's going to be our generator. So it's a quick attack that does 61,000 physical damage and generates 20 to 30 fury. Not sure if I like how the fact it's different fury. Like one strike could give you 30, and the next strike could give you 27, which it gave me. So I'm not sure about this. It's a nice generator. It does generate quite a bit. You'll get a Chaos Strike out of 2 at least, but it's a little off, I think. But there are some talents that kind of change this around and allow you to use it without a generator, which really makes it interesting gameplay, in my opinion. I personally don't like it because it's a little slow for me, but this is they're leaving a bunch of stuff up to chance in Legion, it seems, just like generations and stuff like that. Even with Destro locks, they're kind of Immolate has a chance to gain them the Soul Shard and stuff like that, but it kind of changes up the rotation, I would say, which is kind of good. Makes DPS a little bit more active and more seeing how much rage, how much fury, how much soul shards they have, and kind of changes up the rotation, which is good in a sense. But moving on, we do have I-Beam. This does cost 50 fury with a 45-second cooldown. Blasts all enemies directly in front of you for 606,000 chaos damage. Now this is an amazing cooldown. It does, if you line this up right, it can hit really hard. Say if you have a bunch of mobs stacked up in one location, or in a line like so, line it up and blast all of them. And it does a lot of damage. And works off our mastery, which does improve our chaos damage. Next up, we have Fell Eruption. That's a talent we'll go over later. Next, we also have Fell Rush. Now this is going to be similar to a charge. As a 10-second recharge with 2 charges, you rush forward, incinerating anything in your path for 65,000 chaos damage. Works like so. Really helps out your movement speed and kind of does some nice damage too. So, Fury of the Eldari is our artifact power. We also have Glide. Now this is just works off our double jump, but if we are automatically falling, as is. You can just press and activate the button itself. You don't have to even hit your spacebar. So, something to know about that. Next up, we do have Imprison. It's a 10-second cooldown. Imprison a demon for 1 minute. Damage will cancel the effect. Limit of 1 imprisonment. So that's a nice little CC for demons, but I don't see it being used all that much. Maybe in questing, but not sure about all the raids with all the CC that's going to be needed. Next up, we do have Metamorphosis. Now this is normally a 5-minute cooldown, but through some artifact passives, it does lower it down to 4 minutes. You leap in the air and land with an explosive force, dealing 40,000 chaos damage to enemies within 8 yards, and stunning them for 3 seconds. Upon landing, you are transformed into a hellish demon for 30 seconds, greatly empowering your Chaos Strike and your Blade Dance abilities. Now how this affects the abilities, it mostly just doubles the damage off these abilities. It does give them the same kind of spell effect, but it just kind of gives them roughly double the damage. But since this does last for 30 seconds, that will help out our rotation quite a bit. Moving on, we do have Spectral Sight. This has a 30-second cooldown. Allows you to see enemies and treasures through physical barriers, as well as enemies that are stealth and invisible. This does last for 10 seconds. Attacking or taking damage disrupts the sight. In my opinion, this is going to be so broken in PvP. Rogues are going to be a thing of the past just because of this, or Feral Druids even to that. You can just pop that, see any physical. You do run a little bit slower, but you can pick them out and even cast a range attack, such as Throw Glaive, which is next. It's a 30-yard range. It's a 10-second cooldown. Throw a Demonic Glaive at the target, dealing 86,000 physical damage, and the glaive can ricochet to 2 additional enemies within 10 yards. Nice little pull, but also could work well with Spectral Sight, picking out all those rogues. Just popping that, then popping Throw Glaive on them, therefore they're out of stealth. Next up, we do have Vengeful Retreat. It's a 25-second cooldown. Viciously assault nearby enemies and vault away. Assaulted enemies take 15,000 physical damage and have their movement speed reduced by 70% for 3 seconds. Now this kind of synergizes with our Fell Rush. So we pop this, vault away, and we can Fell Rush back to the same exact spot. So, nice little getaway, but also there are some talents that work off of this, as well as Fell Rush, and kind of gives it more of a how do you want to play this class. So, Blind Fury is a passive talent we'll talk about later. Bloodlet, passive talent. Chaos Cleave, passive talent. Demonic, passive talent. And we do have double jump, obviously. You're able to jump again near the apex of your first jump, like so. You can do it while you're falling. So it's kind of a awesome ability, but I love jumping, so. Plus the glide makes it really cool. First Blood is a passive talent. There's a lot of passive talents. Next up, we have our Mastery. Now, our Mastery is Demonic Presence. Increases your chaos damage by 10% and your movement speed by 10%. So, the more Mastery you have, the more chaos damage we're going to be doing. since half of our stuff does work off chaos damage and some of our talents as well. Something to note, our Demon's Bite works off of physical damage, so our generator doesn't give us any synergy with our mastery, but our main energy dumps will, such as Chaos Strike and I-Beam. Blade Dance is physical damage, so this will not work off our mastery. Same with Glaive Throw, or Throw Glaive. Next up is Shatter Souls. It's a passive, killing an enemy sometimes creates a soul fragment that is consumed when you approach it, healing you for 25% of maximum health. If the soul fragment came from a demon, you will gain 20% increased damage for 15 seconds. Now this is mostly good during questing, but I don't see it being that useful in raiding, just in case. Maybe if we do have a bunch of ads that are dying around us, it could heal us quite a bit. But if we're raiding, we should be near full health anyways. Maybe relieve some stress from our healers if it's a high healing fight. But this could be very useful in PvP, especially in battlegrounds. The more people you kill, often not, just because since it is Legion, there's going to be a lot of demons coming out staggered. You can kind of gain some health back in the meantime. But about the percentage from demon, the 20% damage increase, you don't really see this that much in raiding or PvP. You will see this in questing more often than not, just because since it is Legion, there's going to be a lot of demons coming out, obviously, and giving you more damage boosts. Now, Soul Rending is a passive talent, which we'll go over in just a second. Starting off into our talents, our level 99 talents. Our first one is Fell Mastery. Increase the critical strike chance of Fell Rush by 100% and grants 25 Fury when Fell Rush damages at least one target. Now this is really nice just because you can make this in part of your core rotation, and there are a lot of talents that work off of our Fell Rush and Vengeful Retreat, kind of helping synergize more movement-oriented playstyle into our rotation, and constantly having you move around, jumping from mob to mob could be very useful. Especially Demon Hunters would be excellent at like long range fights, but more jumping to add or something like that. Next we do have Demonic Appetite. Your Chaos Strike has a chance to spawn a soul fragment, and consuming a soul fragment grants 30 Fury. Now this will also heal you, but even if you're striking a demon, this will not give you the 20% buff. So just be warned about that. So you will get a soul fragment, maybe. Let's see here. Maybe not. Well, anyways, you'll get a nice soul fragment that does generate a bunch of fury for you, almost giving you a full another Chaos Strike. Next up we do have Blind Fury, another passive, increases the duration of I-Beam by 50%. I like this one just because I-Beam is such a powerful cooldown, especially if you can hit multiple targets with it. You can do quite a bit of damage, plus there are some artifact traits that do help out with this quite a bit as well. Next up we do have Prepared. It's a passive, reduces the cooldown of Vengeful Retreat by 10 seconds and generates 75 Fury over 6 seconds if you damage at least one enemy with Vengeful Retreat. Now this kind of works with Fell Mastery as well, so if you had both of these, you could do bound back and forward, and you will still get that hit and generate quite a bit of fury. You almost get a full fury bar just from those two spells. So it does kind of change up your playstyle quite a bit. All these talents do a really good job at changing playstyles of Demon Hunters, allowing them to move a lot throughout the battlefield and making them even more annoying target in PvP, even more than rogues in my opinion. But moving on, we do have Demon Blades. Now this does replace our Demon's Bite, which is our main generator, and it is also a passive. Your auto attacks have a chance to deal additional shadow damage and generate fury. So you no longer have a generator, it will be your auto attacks that generate. So it'll be just like fury, but just like a arms warrior, they don't have any generators. It'll just be their auto attacks that generate. So it kind of limits your rotation and makes it very slow in my opinion, but it could be very useful in some fights and with some other talents applied. So this could be very useful, but I think it's too slow of gameplay just for me, even though I'm relatively new to Demon Hunters as is everyone, but it's just a little slow for me, honestly. Doesn't make it that fun. And since I'm working off of auto attacks, it's just kind of like, whatever. I get to just AFK until I can press another Chaos Strike. So. But next up we do have Fell Eruption. Costs 20 Fury with a 25-second cooldown. Impales the target for 310,000 chaos damage and stuns them for 2 seconds. Inflicts additional 100% damage against targets permanently immune to stuns. Now this is the one I like playing with just because it does work off our mastery. Even though our mastery is only 10% right now, that's still quite a bit, especially during people who cannot be stunned. So it's quite a bit of damage. Does 620,000 damage plus if I do get more mastery, it will scale up a lot better as well. So as a decent animation, not the overall coolest, but just a fell spike. Obviously I think they'll turn this green instead of that orange, but has a really high damage in my opinion. It does have a 25-second cooldown, which is kind of give or take, but it does have a low fury cost as well. Next up, we do have Fellblade. Has a 14-second cooldown. Charge the target, dealing 89,000 fire damage, not chaos damage, fire damage. So this does not work off of our mastery. It also, Demon Bite has a chance to reset the cooldown of this spell, and it also generates 30 fury. Basically what this is a charge. So, boom. It could work off with Fell Mastery, Prepared, and stuff like that, giving you more mobility, and kind of just kind of the fact that you can be anywhere in the battlefield at once, even in PvP or in PvE raiding scene. It kind of gives you quite a bit. I'm really impressed on how well some of these do synergize. But moving on, we do have First Blood. Now this is the one I like as a passive that reduces the fury cost of Blade Dance by 20. So normally this would be 35 fury, but with this talent it does reduce it to 15 fury, and it also increases the damage to 251,000 against the first target struck. I like this because it kind of makes it more of a single target cooldown, and it kind of puts it in our rotation as well. So if it's not just about AoE, even though it does quite a bit in AoE, this will help out our single target rotation. So you're just not spamming Chaos Strike, Demon's Bite, and stuff like that. You also get to just add something else into our rotation, therefore improving the gameplay, at least from my opinion. Next up, we have Demon Reborn, another passive. All of your cooldowns are reset when you invoke Metamorphosis. So, this is really interesting because if you do that, you do have an artifact trait that kind of affects your Metamorphosis. I'm not sure if they're going to change it right now, just because it's a little bit weird. Because your eye beam down here has a chance to enter you into demon form, but right now it does not reduce all your cooldowns. So I think it's just gonna be when you pop Metamorphosis. Even though Demon's Form is the same exact thing, I'm not sure if that's gonna be synergized well. I mean, it could potentially, but as of right now, it does not. So I don't think of it as a very good talent. If it does eventually synergize, I think it could be very useful if we do have some other basically on-use abilities that have a decent amount of cooldown on them. So moving on, we do have Nether Walk. This does replace Blur. It does have a 1.5 minute cooldown instead of the minute cooldown from Blur. Slip into the Nether, increasing your movement speed by 100% and becoming immune to damage, but unable to attack, which lasts 5 seconds. So it works like so. Kind of nice, cool ability. Gives you more mobility, which is obviously all of Demon Hunter. This whole row is working off of mobility almost, except for the last two. But moving on, we do have Desperate Instincts. Does replace Blur as well, but as a passive. You automatically trigger Blur effect when you fall below 35% health. This effect cannot only occur every 30 seconds. So this gives you an automatic blur, especially when you drop low. But here's the catch: it can occur every 30 seconds instead of the 1 minute from blur. Next up, we do have Soul Rending, another passive. You gain 100% leech while Metamorphosis is active. Now this one does synergize with Demonic, so every time you cast Eye Beam, you do get that 100% leech. So having those together is a really nice cooldown, especially for questing PvP. You do get quite a bit of lifesteal back, so I do prefer that, just especially for questing. Don't have to worry about health that much, especially when you do have those little soul fragments popping out as well. Moving on, we do have Momentum, another passive. Fell Rush and Vengeful Retreat increase your damage done by 20% for 4 seconds. So this does synergize very well with Fell Mastery, Prepared, and Fellblade. It does not work off of Fellblade, but still kind of gives you more mobility and the ability to use these while in combat and get you back to your target and maximizing the total amount of damage that you're actually putting on the target, which kind of benefits from momentum. So since you do have 2 charges of Fell Rush and 1 charge of Vengeful Retreat, you're able to kind of keep this up for quite a bit. My only downside with this is you're too far, the animation takes too long for this to actually increase your damage quite a bit. So you basically have to wait on Vengeful Retreat, which Prepared would help you out quite a bit with. But you're just waiting for the animations to go through. By the time you get to the target, you have about 1 attack that you do get 20% damage buff off of, which could be used very well if you synergize it with I-Beam or something like that. It won't carry the effect through the whole duration of I-Beam, but it will still be a good damage boost because, say, I-Beam lasts, I think, 3 seconds, but that's with Blind Fury, so around 2 seconds, I would say, which could give you most of the I-Beam. Depends on our global cooldown and where we are to the targets. I think it's so much mobility that it's, at least for me, it doesn't help out your damage. It just kind of hinders it. But next up, we do have Bloodlight, another passive. Throw Glaive causes the target to bleed for 190% of the damage inflicted over 10 seconds. This effect is reapplied. Any damage will be added to the new Bloodlight. So, I throw this, it will stay on, dealing damage. Right now, it bugs out sometimes and does 1 damage. So, it will keep reapplying, especially if we do have any more charges of Throw Glaive, which I think one of these talents works off of, which is Master of the Glaive, giving you 2 charges of Throw Glaive. So that kind of synergizes well together, but overall I don't think that's a good synergy. But next in the 106 talents, we do have Nemesis. It's an instant ability with a 2-minute cooldown. Increases the damage you inflict on the target by 10% for 1 minute. Now this is a 10% buff overall, just to the single target, so you can keep this up half the time. Overall, pretty good when you don't have to worry about it that much. So, but if the target is slain, you deal 10% additional damage to all creature types matching the original target. So if you do kill a humanoid, you're going to be doing 10% more damage against all humanoids, just for the remaining of that minute. So this is kind of nice on ad fights. You can boost up your damage quite a bit, but this also kind of works into PvP, I would say, more than anything else. It gives you that extra little bit of burst just to help kill that target. So I see this more in PvP than PvE, but with the right ad fight, this could be very useful. Moving on, we do have Master of the Glaive, another passive. Your Throw Glaive now has 2 charges and snares all enemies hit by 50% for 6 seconds. So this kind of synergizes with Bloodlight. Hit both of those. The damage does stack up. Right now it's bugged, so sometimes it does 1 damage, but for this target it's hitting it for 37,000. But decent talent. Gives you a little bit more options to play around. Gives you a nice snare, especially if you're kiting mobs or even other people in PvP trying to run away. Whatnot, it can help out quite a bit. Next up, we do have Unleash Power, another passive. Removes the fury cost of Chaos Nova and reduces its cooldown by 33%. If you remember what Chaos Nova is, it is a 40-second cooldown, but with the talent itself. But it is a nice stun, mostly useful in PvP. Some situations it can be used in PvE, but really nice, especially in PvP, just because you can get those extra stuns out, and it does remove all the fury cost. So no matter what part you're in your DPS rotation, if you're out of fury or if you're max fury, it won't take away any of that. Next up, we do have Chaos Cleave. Passive, Chaos Strike, strikes an additional target. Now this is probably one of the lamest talents there is for Demon Hunters, but it's also a very good one just because it helps out your cleave, especially on those fights where you have multiple targets, such as boss fights where there are two. This can help out quite a bit. I'm having very much trouble trying to get this to hit two dummies, but it does work, and it does give you quite a bit extra damage. Onto the 110 talents, we do have Chaos Blades. It's a 2-minute cooldown, and increases the damage of your auto attacks by 332%, and grants your mastery damage bonus to all your attacks. So, the way I like this is with Demon Blades. I do think this is a very nice cooldown with Demon Blades, since you already work off your auto attacks. It will kind of benefit with that shadow damage. Since it is shadow damage, it won't affect chaos damage, but since it kind of works off our auto attacks, it does give a little bit of synergy. Not the best, but is a decent amount of damage. I'll pop this right here. So, as you can see, I'm doing quite a bit of damage just by hitting Chaos Strike. Literally, it's just Chaos Strike and auto attacks. So, that's about the double the damage Affliction Lock can do right now. Affliction Locks are so sad right now. But, overall, I don't think it's the best talent. I really do like Demonic just because of Soul Rending, and it does have quite a bit of synergy. Plus, you get to transform into a demon for 5 seconds. Who doesn't love that? But moving on, we do have Fell Barrage. It's a channeled ability with a 30-second recharge. It does have 5 charges. At your command, you unleash Fell, inflicting 80,000 chaos damage to your target and nearby enemies for each charge. Max of 5 charges. Your damaging attacks have a chance to generate a charge. Right now, your damaging attacks have such a low chance to generate a charge. I don't think this is very useful as a talent, but if they do increase that chance, it will benefit quite a bit. But this does work off chaos damage, so the more mastery we have, this will benefit us quite a bit, and it does have a nice synergy with our mastery, giving an overall nice damage boost. But it is kind of a long recharge just for the low amount of damage that it does. I've worked with a bunch of these talents, and what I like right now is probably the higher damage will be like Chaos Cleave, Bloodlet right now. Sometimes Nemesis if you can get the right rotation, but all of these will be our main kind of a damage increase right now. I just have to say that Demon Hunters right now are the top damage. They are doing around 200k. You can kind of keep around that just on single target. So they're ridiculous right now. So I really do like that. Obviously, it's still Legion Alpha. All the damage numbers are going to be balanced out. So, but kind of giving us a little explanation on the last one. Demonic has a passive. Your eye beam causes you to enter demon form for 5 seconds. it has the same effects as Metamorphosis, so you do gain different abilities off your Blade Dance, and Chaos Strike, they relatively just do double the damage. Plus you get to work off of that leech as well, especially synergizing very well in PvP, giving you quite a bit of health back. Since you do cast I-Beam to trigger it, this is going to be our biggest damage no matter what. You're going to gain a bunch of leech off of that. So these talents are really awesome. I do like the fact that you can build more into mobility or more in just staying in a single place, even though Demon Hunters have quite high mobility as is, even without some of these talents. It's a lot of fun. It didn't used to be. It used to be just basically Demon's Bite and Chaos Strike and popping random stuff every like 45 seconds, like I-Beam and stuff like that. They did kind of increase it, the amount of fun that you can have playing the spec with Blade Dance. Just adding it in there, not having it as a talent. I do like a little bit more spells, so that's why I like Fell Eruption. Plus it does crazy amount of damage and does work off of our mastery, so synergizes pretty nicely. But moving on to our artifact weapons, these awesome Warblades. Our main ability that we do get is Fury of the Illidari. Now this is a 1 minute cooldown. You throw the twin blades of the Deceiver in a whirlwind of energy, causing 311,000 chaos damage over 3 seconds to all nearby targets. Now this does work off our mastery, giving us more chaos damage, but this does hit every target for 311,000. It is not divided among them. So this is a nice little cooldown. I'm not sure about the global cooldown, like having it in a rotation. It does seem to mess up a little bit. So you'll see in a second. I'll just kind of have whirling blades around you. Feels a little off. Maybe because there's no spell animation with it. So, but overall a nice new ability. It does have a low cooldown on it of 1 minute. I think they could have lowered the damage and even made it like 30 seconds. Just because Demon Hunters do have a low amount of abilities, just like most of the classes now. But I think that would have been a lot of fun, just giving you more abilities. Since I-Beam is kind of a longer cooldown of 45 seconds, but it does kind of give you more of a rotation than anything else. So that's why I did like Fell Eruption, kind of add something in your rotation, even though it is 25 seconds. But there are also some other cool abilities, not abilities but passives in our artifact weapons itself, such as Anguish of the Deceiver. Each time I-Beam deals damage to a target, it also applies Anguish. When Anguish expires, it deals 10,000 chaos damage per application. Now, if we do have Blind Fury, you can get up to 14 stacks if you hit them during the whole duration. So, if you do apply this to all 4 of these targets, all of them, they all get 14 stacks, and they'll expire here soon. They all explode for 140,000 chaos damage, which is ridiculous. Even makes your I-Beam more powerful. So I really love that passive, just because it does work off of our mastery still, and it can have some nice synergy with your I-Beam, and it just makes this overall just a huge damage increase, especially with the talent Blind Fury. But for the other 2 main passives, we do have the Rage of the Illidari. When your when Fury of the Illidari ends, which is your artifact weapon ability, when that ends, 100% of the damage dealt erupts in a chaos, an explosion of fellow energy, dividing that chaos damage among all nearby enemies. So this does give you a nice little extra damage, but it is divided, so but it still works off of chaos damage. So synergizing with your mastery. Well, last but not least, we do have Inner Demons. Your Chaos Strike has a chance to unleash your Inner Demon, causing it to crash on your target, dealing 100,000 chaos damage to all nearby enemies. Now, since this doesn't split, very nice for AoE, but just like that, have a nice little demon coming at you. Happens quite a bit, but if you do have a bunch of Fury to dump, you can trigger this quite a bit. But since right now your crits do not consume Fury, that does not work as of right now. So you would be seeing it a lot more if the more crit you had. So therefore, just giving you even more synergy. I really do like how they're making Demon Hunters. When the alpha chest came out, they were kind of pathetic. The damage was okay, but the actual amount of fun that you could have in the rotation itself was very minimal. You would be casting 2 spells, and even if you took Demon's Bite or Demon's Blades, you'd be just casting Chaos Strike and waiting for I-Beam. That's it. That would be all of it. That would be all of your rotation. But they did do a really good job at adding in Blade Dance. Really kind of helps out the lore of a Demon Hunter itself. Does kind of give you some awesome dodge, especially if you do have like a big damage attack coming in, and you can kind of predict it. You can dodge that attack. But overall, very fun spec. I do like the high mobility. Plus, who doesn't love double jump? Plus a little glide. Anyways, I really do like the spec. If I wasn't planning on doing like Enhancement Shaman or Demo Lock, this would definitely be my top choice. This is really cool animations, but maybe just a little redundant since they are still working off of mostly just the Chaos Strike. If I had one bad thing to say, it would just because you're casting almost one ability at all times, but you do feel like a Demon Hunter. You do have nice lore, nice abilities that do synergize, especially your talents. Does give you quite a bit of options how you want to play your Demon Hunter, where making it more movement speed or stuff like that. Does have a nice feel to it. I do see some of the damage numbers kind of evening out, so it probably won't be the top damage, but as of right now it is really high, pulling around 200k easily with the right rotation. At least my rotation with these talents, I do pull around 200k. It could probably be optimized a little bit better, but some of the talents just don't synergize very well. But it's still alpha. They have plenty of time to change all that stuff until August 30th. So if we did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. There's going to be a lot more to come. If you do have any suggestions about any upcoming videos or any past videos, please leave them in the comment box below, as well as any questions. And thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.